Good morning. We will pay attention to bank reconciliation today, but before we start on the question on Lotus Sports stores, I first just want to repeat again, the bank account in our books is an asset, and the asset increases on the debit side and decreases on the credit side. So in our books, all the deposits will appear on the debit side and all the payments will appear on the credit side. In the books of the bank, they will open an account for our business. They treat us as a liability because they have to pay this money back to us. So they will increase on the credit side and will decrease on the debit side. So the entries in our books that appear on the debit side will appear on the credit side of the bank reconciliation statement. And the entries that appear on the credit side in our books will appear on the debit side of the bank reconciliation. The following information relates to Lotus Sports stores for May. On comparison with the cash journals and the bank statement, the following differences were found. The bank account in the general ledger of Lotus stores had a favorable balance of 700. So it means that our bank account started with a balance of 700 on the debit side. The bank statement had an unfavorable balance of 7168. Now in our books, an unfavorable balance will be on the credit side. So in their books, an unfavorable balance will be on the debit side. In our books, it will be on the credit side. So this will be the debit balance according to bank statement. We always start our bank reconciliation with the balance that appeared on the last day of the month in the bank statement, and then we're going to do additional entries that was not recorded or mistakes that the bank made, so that we can determine what their balance should be after all these additional entries were done. A stop order for 600 in favor of City Council to pay for the electricity used by the owner of the business. So it means that's for his personal use. So I will show that the money will be paid out of my bank account. I record this entry in the cash payments journal, and the account that will be debited will be drawings. A deposit of 6,520 on the 31st of May does not appear on the bank statement. So we already recorded the entry in our books. The bank must still do it. So it means they will show that deposit on the credit side, 6,520. Deposits on us in our books on the debit side, in their books on the credit side. So it's credit outstanding deposit. A debtor made a direct deposit of 1,000 in settlement of his debt of 1,100 directly into the bank account. So this money was already recorded by the bank. We still have to record it, so I must increase my balance in the bank on the debit side. Although they tell me it's in settlement of a debt of 1,100, the amount that will appear in your bank will only be 1,000, and the other 100 Rand will be done in the general journal to indicate that the debtors control will be credited and discount allowed will be debited. So that extra 100 is not recorded in your bank. Okay, so we have an additional 1,000 in our books, and it was paid in by a debtor. So we will credit his account in the debtors ledger, and we will credit our debtors control account to indicate that the debtor owes less money. This will be recorded in the cash receipts journal. The annual insurance premium was paid by the bank by means of a debit order. So the business signed a debit order at the insurance company that allowed them to collect money on behalf of the business at the bank each month, 1,440. So it's money paid out of our bank account, 1,440. It will be recorded in the cash payments journal, and the account that will be debited will be insurance. A deposit of 2,190 was entered in the cash receipts journal as 2,910. The amount for 2,190 is correct in the bank statement. So the bank didn't make a mistake, we made a mistake. So this will be corrected in your bank account. Now a deposit will appear on the debit side, and we indicated that deposit at 2,910. It was only supposed to be 2,190. So we debited our bank account with too much money, so we must now decrease it on the credit side. Okay, and we will subtract those two amounts from each other, so the 2,910 and the 2,190. And I will indicate on the credit side, the difference between the two is 720. So when we recorded the deposit, we did it on the debit side. This amount was too much, so we have to decrease it, and we will do that in our cash payments journal. Service fees. Any expenses that we pay to the bank except interest is recorded as bank charges. So it's money taken out of our bank account, and we will debit the bank charges account, and this entry will appear in my cash payments journal. A cash withdrawal of 60 with a debit card appeared on the bank statement as 6 rand. So a cash withdrawal or an EFT payment means that we take money out of the bank. So I have to record this in my bank account, and they say that it was recorded as 6 rand. It should have been 60 rand. Okay, so there's an error at the bank. The difference between the 60 and the 6 will give me 54 rand. Okay, so the withdrawal of 60 with a debit card appeared on the bank statement as 6. Okay, so the withdrawals must go on the debit side when you do payments. We didn't record enough, so it means that we have to increase it with 54 rand. That 60 Rand interest on overdraft is money that we must pay to the bank. So it will be in my bank account, interest on overdraft. That is in my cash payments journal, and the amount for the interest is 60 Rand. So the money in the bank will decrease with 60. The EFT for 1578 paid to a creditor does not appear on the bank statement. So the bank must still record this EFT. Payments is done on the debit side. So it's debit outstanding EFT. And the amount for that EFT is 1578. Okay, a proof of payment of 640 was received from a debtor. No information of a direct deposit appears on the bank statement. So the bank still have to record this 640. We recorded it when we received this proof of payment. So the bank must show that they must still increase my account with 640 Rand. And that's credit outstanding deposit. So whether a client pays it in with the EFT or a direct deposit or with a debit card, it's money that increases our balance at the bank and will appear on the credit side. An EFT transaction for 5,820 for trading stock purchase was recorded in the cash payments journal as 5,280. So there's a mistake again in the cash payments journal, so it means we have to correct it in our books. The EFT was 5,820. We recorded it too little as 5,280, so I must increase the amount on the credit side with 540, and I will have to correct that error, and I will subtract the two figures from each other, so it means the 4,290 and the 5,820 and the 5,280. Okay, so because we didn't put enough money on the credit side, we must indicate that our bank balance decreases with this mistake that we made. A deposit of 4,290 was cast in the deposit book as 4,190. So we showed in our bank account that we deposited 4,190. The bank showed this amount correctly as 4,290. So we made a mistake again. So I will show that we have to correct this mistake. And we will deduct the 4,190 from the 4,290, and I will show that we didn't record enough, so I will indicate this in my cash receipts journal as an additional 100 Rand. Okay, then I add up my bank, and I see the debit side is 1,800 and the credit side is 3,440. Now, if I do a T account for the bank, it means that I will show on the debit side we've got 1,800. On the credit side, I've got 3,440. So if I want to see what is the balance, I have to add up the credit side, subtract the debit side of 1,800, and determine that the balance is 1,640. That balance is brought down on the credit side as 1,640. So it means when I record it in my bank reconciliation statement, I have to show this on the credit side, on the same side that it appeared in my ledger. So don't just look at these two and say, okay, the difference is on the debit side, so I'm going to put it on the debit side. You must think what happened in your bank account to create that balance, and then the balance is recorded on the same side in the bank reconciliation as in the bank account. So it is a credit balance according to bank account. And if I add up both sides now, I will get a total on both sides of 8,800 to indicate that we didn't make any mistakes. Now, where you quite often make mistakes here is that you can't decide whether the amounts must appear on the debit or credit side. So all these entries for corrections or entries that was not completed, so these entries that must still be completed, will be done on the side that the bank will do it. So if we put deposits on the debit side and they still have to do deposits, you will show it on the credit side. If we show payments on the credit side, payments that they have to do will go on the debit side. The balances will go on exactly the same side as they appear in your books. So they told you that the bank statement had a debit balance. That's why we show it on the debit side. That is the balance on the last day of the month according to the bank statement. Then we do the adjustments, and now we want to determine, after I've done the adjustments, if our books will balance now. And if this is on the credit side, it means that I will show that balance on the credit side. So the balances is on the same side as they appear in the bank statement or in your bank account. The additional entries for the adjustments that must still be done will be done as the bank would do it, with deposits on the credit side and payments on the debit side.